Welcome to the show, Voices of Hope, Healing Together. I'm your host, Barbara Golar, and I'd like to start off saying Happy 2025 and want to welcome back Stephanie. Oh my goodness.
I'll take it though. It's okay.
All right. Thank you so much. You know, I've been crazy around here.
It's all right.
Ebony Wright, our licensed marriage family therapist here. And I hope you had a wonderful New Year's. And I know coming back, January has been really interesting for all of us here. So, excuse me, I'd like to actually share with you our topic that we're going to be covering today. And I like to also, before I share the topic, I like to welcome our audience, welcome you out there watching us on TV, and also those of you that's watching us on our YouTube channel. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about breaking the silence. We spoke about this in previous episodes, but we're going to do a deep dive into this particular topic, and it's breaking the silence, talking about mental health in the communities of color. And I have this wonderful panel that we have assembled, and without any further ado, I really would like for them to introduce themselves. And I'm really excited because we have on our panel having a younger perspective, which I think really helps to bring light in because, they're our future. And so we just have to make sure that they are also taken care of. So we take care of ourselves to be able to take care of them, and we will have a bright future. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over, introduce our panel, and we'll start off with...
My name is Larry Spicer, and I have the pleasure of serving the community of Monrovia as a council member.
Okay, thank you very much. And?
My name is Tanya Godse, and I just recently graduated from UC Santa Cruz with my major in psychology, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
My name's Ulysses Gutierrez, longtime community member here in the city of Monrovia, and I'm happy to be back. Thank you, Barbara.
Yes. I have to share a really quick story. Here at KGM, we had a care-a-thon. And Tanya, we were out back, and she's also the daughter of one of our board members. And so we're just talking, and when she shared with me that she just graduated. Did you say what you majored in?
Yeah.
Okay. And when she said what she majored in, I go, oh, I just perked up, and then we start talking, and then she agreed, like, oh, I have to check with your parents first. So Ebony, you want to start us off?
Yes, well, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be back. And it's very important that we discuss how to move forward with mental health and what does that look like, especially right now, because we have a lot of things going on in society. You know, we have the fires, and now we have some issues within the community, especially within our Hispanic community, that's important, that I think a lot of people are struggling with right now, and it's been really tough on a lot of individuals. So what does that look like? You know, what does it look like taking care of your mental health? What does it look like moving forward, especially when you're facing tragedy and in the midst of everything online that's going wrong and that we're seeing every day? What does it look like to take care of yourself? And so I think it's important that Barbara brought up that, you know, there are things that really needs to be pushed to the forefront, and there are some barriers to these things as well. So let's dive a little bit into some of the barriers that could help, that right now could be a potential issue for individuals as they try to deal with their mental health in the face of what's going on in society as a whole.
You know, as simple as it sounds, in what I'm going to share is education, right? I like how you said, you know, how do we move forward? I was born in Mexico. I've been in this country for over 35 years, my mother as well. And I know in my home, I couldn't open up about how I felt inside because I don't think it was intentional, because now that my mother's in a better place and we talk through this, she really does say, how do I wish I would have known how to be present for you and allow you to open up and share. And in my, at least for myself, for my culture, it's that we're told to suppress it, you know, to stay quiet. The point that I want to bring up and why I say education is because in the past 6 months, we've had the awesome privilege of collaborating with experts that work out of Mexico City. They've been traveling back and forth and helping us with some studies. And we're talking about professional doctors, psychologists, firefighters. And when we tell them about how our school system works, how we have resources, and at least in the San Gabriel Valley, how we really do talk about mental health, they're like, we don't do that.
Right.
So we're talking about an entire country where for us, it's becoming more normal through social media, through television, through talk shows like this, through things that happen in school where the topics of mental health are spoken about.
Right.
But we must be mindful as we move forward that the countries from where some of the people are coming, because you talked about Hispanics,
Right.
this really is not something that is spoken about. I know in the past I've been a part of conversations where like, no, in Hispanic communities we don't talk about it. But I come back 6 months later with like, oh no, it is confirmed that this is something that they do not talk about. We have parents that say, I've never heard the term anxiety. ¿Qué quiere decir ansiedad? What is that?
Right.
Right, where I'm not saying that here in the United States everybody just knows it right away, but it's more accessible for you to read about anxiety. People are talking more about what anxiety is and depression and so forth. So for myself, from my perspective, from the work that we've been doing, it's definitely education and it's not just to the Spanish speaker, to the Chinese speaker, any other language. We cannot assume that people in their upbringing, and I think of like my mother, who is now in her 60s, she didn't grow up thinking about that, knowing about that, and they dealt with it in silence. They dealt with it in silence, and that silence, unfortunately, caused more harm than anything else.
Right. Right. And that's an interesting perspective that you bring up, because that is a barrier with a lot of clients that I work with, not being able to talk about it, especially the older generations, as they come and they, the youngers try to present, okay, maybe I'm anxious, maybe I'm depressed. There is this barrier in understanding where we don't talk about those things. What does that mean? What do you mean anxiety? Get over it, you'll be fine. So that is true. A lot of people are dealing with, where do I go? How do I speak about these things? As we see in society, things get worse. People are wondering, where do I go? How do I let this out? If I can't let it out in my home, what do I do?
You have a
Well, when I was in high school, I had a counselor named Miss Tillman, Ruth Tillman. And because my parents worked 2 jobs, I would go and talk to Miss Tillman about the things that was happening within me. But, nowadays, there's only a couple of counselors at the high school for all of those kids.
Right.
So how is the kid going to feel, going and opening up to that person? It was just the way things are set up now. A lot of the kids that I know now within my church, they go to the pastor, or they go to the women in the church. Right. Or they go to the men in church. Like we have man talk on Tuesdays, so the kids can come in, whether it's adults, not just kids too, but the adults. We all come, sit down. Food is going to be there. Right? But we're able to open up. I could be having a marital problem, but I can bring it up. But I have to know that it's going to stay there in that room. This is private. This is something dear to me. I'm bringing it up, and you got to make sure that it's going to stay within that group. So that assurance is there. We pray that assurance is there.
Right.
That it stays
I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because it is important, especially when you're going sharing in a group setting, is to safeguard that space so
Right.
that you might have someone that doesn't really feel comfortable. But if once they know that is a safe space, that what stays in here,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to be okay.
Right.
You see.
Right.
So.
That is important that you brought that up too, because in groups you want to make sure that we maintain everybody's confidentiality.
Confidentiality,
You know,
yes.
it's important. What we talk about, it doesn't go anywhere. And in a world where social media is like the huge thing, you know, people post everything on there, fights and discussions and secretly recording people. You have to make sure that people understand when you come into a place and we're disclosing things, especially private things, that it's okay to talk about it, because within these walls, this is where it stays.
Something that we have started to practice, and it was something that was modeled for us, and we began to practice it, is in those group settings, we say it throughout the setting from time to time, but
Yes.
particularly at the end is the fact that this is a safe space. But this is where we've seen a powerful change in the approach, being able to voice out. Some of you may not be comfortable sharing in the group, but when this is over, if you want to reach out to any of the leads or anyone within the group, that's available. And I cannot tell you how powerful that has been, because some people are not willing to open up within a group setting, no matter how comfortable the group is. But then the fact that we close off the sessions by saying, if you're one of those that's not comfortable talking, but you'd rather talk one-on-one, reach out. And I'm telling you, at least one individual, it's usually more than one, but at least one individual does reach out to one of the wellness coaches to just begin to open up.
Yeah.
Tanya.
Well, sort of speaking of that, and how you mentioned how high schools now only have a few counselors, and definitely people like who are younger do not feel comfortable sharing with other people our age, because we know that with social media and everything, it's most likely going to get out. And so that's a really needed resource to have more counselors and more people who are able to do one-on-one instead of group activities, or have more time and effort directed towards one student versus one counselor having 50 kids to take care of at once. So yeah, that's definitely something that could be used better.
Definitely. I definitely agree. And to go back a little bit to what Ulysses said about education, you know, this is the importance of educating individuals, especially as we talk about within cultures, you know, because in some cultures, everything is hushed. We don't talk about anything that goes on in home, outside of home. And so how do you get children, or anybody to, for that matter, to feel comfortable, let me express this to this person, you know, about what's going on in home, when we're taught not to do that, you know? So I like how you brought up, you can call afterwards. You know, if you don't want to talk to the group, you can call and you can talk to one person versus having to share with the whole group. But also just going back to that, getting the parents involved too, to educate them that it's okay to speak about certain things in a group setting, and it's okay because it's not going to come out. But you have to then get that rapport with that parent and that family. And so I think when we have groups, it's important just for everybody to feel welcome. And like you said, reminding them, you can talk to people outside of this. It doesn't have to be here, and eventually they will become comfortable and they will show up and speak about their things.
Well, you know, I have a question. A part of the barrier of mental health is the cultural stigma behind it. You know, because you have also folks coming from older that's just didn't happen, and it was silence. It's going to be okay, and so I want to know from you all, what is it that you think excuse me, how that can be broken, how we can go and speak to the elders.
Well, I feel like it's happening right now in this very setting. I remember when we met Councilmember Spicer, and Sheila Spicer's also in the audience. We met in a time where in Monrovia we were experiencing one death by suicide per year for 5 consecutive years. And it was when we as adults began to break the silence. Not so much about if we had our own struggle, but we began to break the silence of this will no longer be ignored, then we began to see that it broke the ice within the community to ensure that being able to speak about mental health wasn't something that would be secondary, but that instead we put it at the forefront. And what that began to do, it began to impact the culture, not just in Monrovia, but throughout the region, because then it became a regional approach. So it's definitely, I feel that what's happening at the table and what began to happen in Monrovia is a model of what other communities and other groups can begin to practice. And it begins with us now taking responsibility in breaking the silence and ensuring that youth, families, and seniors know that we are aware that this is happening. And some of us have our own stories. In my church, we call it, some of us have our own testimony. And being able to do it in a balanced and healthy way to share your story, it inspires others and it creates a level of comfort. I think the key word there was level, because everybody's levels of comforts are different. It begins to build a level of comfort when someone sees you show up time and time again. And I'm not talking about an individual, I'm talking about a group that shows up time and time again. People begin to open up, and it's showing up, breaking the silence, showing up, but continue doing it continuously. And a part of that, through that, then you are able to present the education component.
Right.
For me, it's definitely, I'm seeing it more as a generation sort of breaking thing. My mom, shout out to my mom, she's honestly the best I could ask for, because she was the person in her family to break the cycle of raising me in a very open environment where I never felt like pressured to keep anything from her. Whenever I was feeling like big feelings that I needed to talk about, I could always like feel safe coming to her with that, and she would understand that I need to like feel it out, because she also has a background studying psychology. So she comes from that education wise, so she was taught that and taught all these things that she implemented in like raising me. In a completely different way to how she was raised. And seeing her, like, I think of how, like, she raised me for, like, middle school versus high school versus in college. I saw her, like, evolve in the way she, like, talked with me and helped me, like, through a lot of obstacles that I ran into. And so I feel like that has definitely changed, like, our family a lot. And comparing how she's raising me to how her parents raised her, it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Now, but a question is, do you feel it's a difference because you're here in America and not in India?
I think that's definitely a huge factor as well, because I do think she would still do her best if we were in India, but there would be a lot more external societal pressure from like the family there versus being here and having a bit more like individualistic ideals. So like she could parent her way and there was no one saying like you can't parent that way, sort of thing.
I really like that you said that and how you said that, because it's also not taken away from who you are, your culture. And that is what is beautiful.
Yeah. And it is important when going through mental health and speaking with a therapist that they have an idea of cultural values.
Yes.
Knowing someone's culture and how they deal with different emotions and express emotions is important, because you don't want to offend anybody. You don't. Yeah. And you don't want to take from them, you know, so you want to get to know it. And even if you don't know, as a therapist, it's important to educate yourself. Or, you know, we have consultations that we can call someone and we can talk to each other about it, like give me a little bit more information. But it's important to incorporate a person's culture and their identity in their therapy session. So I like that you brought that up, because it's very important. Each one of us has a culture and that it means something to ourselves. And so even the way we express our mental health is it's shown through the way we see our culture, you know, whether it's through silence, whether it's through different body languages, all of that is very relevant to culture.
Yeah. And that kind of leads right on into speaking about I had cheese yesterday.
It's okay.
Anyway, it leads into what you said. Also, what is important is when you select that therapist, is that person is aware of that, not only culturally, but it also whatever your faith tradition is as well. Yeah. And so it's just that person is really important because you're going to be sharing some things that you want help, but you want also to be in sync or with that individual that's going to be helping you. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Being in sync is important in therapy. You have to build that rapport. If you don't have it, then how will I feel comfortable opening up to you? Or I can't trust you. Or if I feel you don't understand my culture, or at least at the bare minimum, trying to understand my culture. That is huge for people. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to talk to that person.
Yeah, you got to build that relationship. That's where it all starts at, that relationship that you can build with that person.
Right.
And I also think that, that just because you start with that person doesn't mean you have to end with that person, because if it doesn't, like Larry said, if it's not clicking, is that relationship is not clicking, you say, peace out, I'm out, and that is something that's really important.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So here in Monrovia, we have all these different organizations on mental that is trying to work within the mental health field and all, right? What if everybody just came together as one group and just make it work from there? Without having all these separate groups, doing their thing here, this other group doing their thing over there. If everyone just come together, work together as one group, pour all the resources into that one group, and make everything happen from there out to the communities.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Yes.
To have something like that.
It's like a central hub.
Right. Instead of all these different groups, I'm just saying myself, I would be kind of confused. Well, which one do I think I'm going to go to?
Right.
Yeah. How do I know this one is going to get me where I'm trying to go? I don't know. That's just something I think about all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's like a central hub. So when you go in there, like a mini mall. That's what's happening in my brain. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
And so when you're in the mini mall, you go, okay, this one might work for me best over here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But knowing there is a central number or whatever, and that can guide you. Right. So
one of the good things now with internet is that we do have different platforms that offers you a wide variety of therapists and access to psychiatry if that's what you need. And so you go on there and you can view tons of profiles and kind of see who you think would fit your needs. And you brought up a good point. If you don't click with that person, you have every right to not continue with that person. And so now with technology, I think that's a good way too, and almost like a little central hub, because there's so many different therapists on there that if you don't like this one, okay, I'm gonna end services here and I'm gonna go to this one, and you can just keep picking until you find the right fit for you and that you feel comfortable with. So it's almost there. It's not seen like in a community, but you would have to go online for that. But it would be great to have something in the community where you have one central place where you can go and meet your needs, whatever they look like.
Right.
Another thing, as I was researching for this particular show, because one of the things that it mentioned was that to make sure that the therapist that you choose has been trained in what do they call it? Cultural
Sensitivity.
Sensitivity, yeah. And so I went online to find, and it was interesting enough that it really wasn't that many. Right. It really wasn't that many. And I was really shocked. And it's also important whatever issue that you're dealing with, that is important that you that well, to me, I think it is important. Maybe not for someone else, but to have someone that looks like you or speaks your language, or something that you can immediately connect with as you're doing this search. And then you can, just like anything, you can interview them on the telephone, or have that free consultation or whatever to see if that's a good fit. But I was really shocked, especially here in California. Are you kidding me? We're the United Nations right here in California. Right. Not even talking about the rest of the United States, but right here in Southern California. Right. And it just was a small number of therapists. Yeah. That was just insane to me. So, my advice is to really, let me back up. I was really nervous about going to see a therapist. It didn't bother me so much about physical. I said, because that would heal. But it's growing up, you see these crazy movies that hypnotizing you, make you doing all kinds of crazy things. That's why I was afraid. I was petrified. But when I was having difficulties in my marriage, I know I got to see somebody because this is not normal here. I'm not being able to function. And I remember just praying and praying and praying. And one of my co-workers got married, and the person that married her, I really liked her. And so, and see, also, I wasn't going to her just because she was a pastor, but because she was also a therapist, you see. Because that was important, but also the other side of that was important was that I also knew that she was a person of God. And that was another thing, is that, you have these therapists sometimes that think that we can be God. Yeah. See, I can't go to nobody like that. That's a Looney Tune to me. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. But I couldn't, because my faith is so strong, and belief in God. So I really prayed upon it, and when I saw her, I go, okay. And then I went to see her, and she, and she was fine, but I had to go through that process because of what my thinking was before, because of seeing the stuff on TV. You see, that I couldn't have anybody messing up with my brain, because I didn't want to go out and hear a bell and then I'm gonna shoot somebody or something. I didn't know. I was in my 20s. I didn't know, and plus I'm naive also too. I really am. Not now, but I was then. And so that is the thing that's really also important for me. Again, is that the person really has to have a belief in God for me.
Right.
You
brought up a very interesting point with the bell. And the way that therapy is perceived, like in older movies and television.
Yes.
One good thing about
that's what I grew up with, okay?
It's okay. I've actually had people ask me that, like, what are you going to do to me? And I'm like, we're just talking. I don't want to do anything to you. So it's good to know that there are so many.
Still, they think that?
Yeah. Because if you look at movies, people, you're getting hypnotized, or, you're going to have a lobotomy or something like that. So people have asked me, like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, we're not doing anything. We're just going to talk. So it's important, that when you do seek your therapy, that you can interview your therapist. You actually can. You can ask questions, or even if you choose them and you guys are in session, you can start asking questions and ask them, what are your views on this? Sometimes we don't disclose our personal views because it should not have no bearing on how I treat you as a client. But you can ask questions, about their theory style. What are you going to use when we talk? Are you a CBT therapist, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, or are you a child psychologist? Like, whatever it is you have questions about, ask. It's important because what you see on TV, 9 times out of 10, we're not doing. And it's just a conversation. So even for me, when I see my clients, I always tell them, it's just 2 people having a conversation. So don't feel like you have to come in here and present a certain way or that something's going to happen.
You know, that made me think when I went, I said, I as I was going upstairs, I said, I am not laying on nobody's couch. I just started. So that was the first thing when I went in.
You were going in with a bad attitude.
Yeah, I was, but I was feeling a bad attitude, but I was feeling good
Yeah.
because I was seeing her.
Yeah.
You know, and so we just sat across the way. I said, "Oh, we just talking," and, and I thought, okay, I can do this. But anyway, that triggered. I totally forgot about that because I was petrified about that also.
I think within the context of this conversation, it would be nice if we also spoke about the benefits of opening up.
Yes.
The benefits of seeing a therapist, right? Because it's like all that you shared, some people have, some thoughts about what's going to happen in therapy or not. But there's so many of us that have either gone through a therapist or opened up to clergy or opened up to the school counselor or opened up, AA is big on that. That is what it's about. It's anonymous. A bunch of people show up, and it's a space where people open up and they share. And in that place, they find comfort. In that place, they find strength. In that place, they find peace. So I feel that it's equally important to talk about what are the benefits of being able to open up to someone. That someone can manifest in different ways, and being able to open up it's proven through studies that the minute that you begin to open up, that in itself already begins to, I don't know all of the science and terminology, you probably do, but the minute that someone does open up, there's already an immediate psychological and mental change by being able to do that.
First of all, you think, oh, somebody else, I'm not alone. That's the number one thing. Once you start opening up, you start getting, wow. And then you start feeling empowered also. That, oh, I can go and talk to this person.
I would just want to encourage people that would listen to this too, like if you had a great experience in opening up, talk about that. Share it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because not every, there's people that would probably have had negative experiences, but not every negative experience is going to be everyone's experience. And how, like for instance, like I've had situations where I've opened up to someone and it went wrong and it went sour. And right away I wanted to be guarded. I didn't want to open up ever again. But then I realized I got to give myself that opportunity. And so I feel that for those around the table and those that are listening, think of that. You could potentially be opening up and promoting that individual is worth giving themselves that opportunity again. And the way that it's going to happen is they're watching your lifestyle in the sense of, are you talking to me about what I need to overcome? So anyway, I just wanted to really stress that part, that there are benefits to opening up. There are benefits to joining groups.
It's ginormous benefits.
Definitely. And you brought up a good point when you said talking about your needs, because I have had people tell me like, oh, I went to therapy and it turned into her therapy session, or she talked about things that were so irrelevant and didn't stay on topic with what I needed. So that's when okay, I'm not going to stay here with you. I'm going to find someone else, and that's okay. But I like to tell people, like, look, when you come to therapy, imagine coming in here with a bunch of Walmart bags and they're full of frozen goods. And I don't know if you've ever carried Walmart bags full of frozen goods. That stuff is heavy. So you have some bags that are probably tearing and getting ready to drop. You have some bags that have more weight than the other, but you're tired and your body hurts when you are trying to bring those Walmart bags into the house. So as you come to therapy, you're handing me one of the bags and I'm helping you take the bags away from you. So that way you don't have to keep carrying all these Walmart bags. Now, there are times in therapy where you may be making lots of progress and you feel like you're taking steps back. And that's okay, because that's all part of the progress of therapy. So you're not taking your Walmart bag back. It's just that, oh, you found out there's an extra item in this Walmart bag that you didn't even look at. You overlooked it. And so every time you go to therapy and you're with the right therapist, right, because not every therapist is going to be the right fit, you are letting someone take your Walmart bag. That's all it is. Just hand them the Walmart bag and we'll go through it and see what items you have in there, and we'll work through that and we'll put them on the shelf. As we put them on the shelf, that's your progress. So yes, definitely benefits are just letting go, period. If at the end of the day all you get is just to vent, that's good, right? I like to vent. I'm sure other people like to vent. So when you come to your therapist, you can tell them what you need. I'm just here to vent. Okay, then I'll listen. Or if you want to talk it out and see what they think based on therapeutic models, okay, let's do that too. So please feel free to always tell your therapist what you need and how you would like the shape of your therapy to go, because that's what we're here for. It's not what we want to do, it's what you want to do, and we just help guide you through that.
Thank you. I love that analogy about that.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm a shopper.
Oh.
I love to shop.
Retail therapy is real.
Yes, it is. Tune in next week. I'm going to talk about retail therapy.
Okay, as we come to a close, I want to hear any closing remarks that either one of you might have. First of all, before you even say anything, I really appreciate you being here.
Yes.
It is so nice having her here.
Yeah.
As you know, yeah, you are my granddaughter. You know, you could be my granddaughter.
Oh, thank you very
But
much.
anyway, it's just nice to have young energy.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Thank you.
I mean, well, she's in her 20s. Oh, please, you know, okay.
I'm just messing with you.
Okay, all right.
I am not that old.
I know you're not, but you're not 20 either.
I know.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay.
I remember now.
Because I know your sister.
Oh.
Okay, anyway, I'm so sorry.
I really loved being here. This has been super interesting to be here and listen to your guys' perspectives. So
This was really nice to have this conversation with the group here and the audience. It's pretty good. I didn't know that was your mom.
Yeah.
That's good.
Definitely close with a statement that I said earlier in terms of people should be encouraged to give themselves that opportunity again, because they're worth it, that opportunity. And what I would now just add on to that is we need to be open to giving and extending people that opportunity over again and again and again and again and again, because people that are genuinely struggling in silence, we're all very different. And that's why I really appreciate a lot of what you shared today. Everybody's needs are different, culturally different. Everybody's at a different space. So not only do we encourage people, give yourself that opportunity, but whether you're a lay pastor, a community member, a family member, a neighbor, someone that works for a youth organization, whatever it is, we encourage, continue to give those individuals another opportunity, because when you do that and it becomes a part of who we are culturally, then people, when they are ready, they'll step out and hand you their Walmart bag.
Yep.
I think that's going to be a
You've
thing.
given me a good idea for our MAP conference, but I'll share it with you afterwards.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay?
Oh, okay. Wow. This was really good.
It was. It really was.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
And thank you, everyone. I hope that, oh my goodness, I have to remember not to eat cheese when I come to do taping. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to thank our audience here. I love having the audience. You know, we might be small, but our audience just brings a different kind of energy also to the space. So I appreciate you all coming. And also appreciate you all out there watching, and hope to see you again for our next show. So, bye-bye.